If you guys don't know the story, we'll read through the story, then we'll kind of go through some things that are coming up out of the story. Yeah. So, TakeOff, member of rap group Migos, fatally shot outside private party in Houston, police say. TakeOff, who was one-third of the platinum-selling rap group Migos, was shot and killed early Tuesday in Houston, Texas. Authorities said he was 28. Yeah, stuff's been crazy down in Houston. Yo, it's wild. And what's up, Scon? Welcome in. Good to see you, friend. Birthday buddy. Yeah, no, it's been crazy. It really has been crazy. Police received a call of a shooting in progress around 2:34 a.m. local time. Houston Police Department Chief Troy Finner said at the news conference Tuesday. Officers arrived at 810 Billiards and Bowling. It was at a fucking bowling alley. You imagine, like, I'm fucking dying outside of a bowling alley? Like, and Migos. I like Migos a lot, and they're not my favorite, but I really do like Migos. I work out the Migos often because it just gives me some fucking hype. But it was sad, man. Like, it really was sad. Trying to shoot this video for TikTok was hard for me. I know. Feel bad for me, guys, because I felt bad about someone dying. But no, it really is. It really was just It really was sad. I mean, dude's 28, and it's sad, man. And then to hear about how peaceful of a human being he was, and how he wasn't really about that life, is really it is really sad, and it's an interesting conversation that's happening now that this is leading to. Two other people, a 23-year-old man and a 24-year-old woman, were also injured in the shooting and took themselves to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries, said Sergeant Michael Arrington with Police Department's Homicide Division. Employees told police an argument took place after the party ended when a large group of people gathered at the front of the door area outside of the building, which led to the shooting. At least 40 people were at the scene at the time of the shooting. A lot of people that were there fled the scene and did not stick around to give a statement, Arrington said. Finner identified the deceased man as TakeOff of the rap group Migos. I got many calls from Houston and outside of Houston, and everyone spoke of what a great young man he is, how peaceful he is, what a great artist he is, Finner said, later adding that TakeOff was a very well-respected and non-violent. He was very well-respected and non-violent, which is the saddest thing ever. I would not expect him to be involved. We have no reason to believe that he was involved in anything criminal at the time. Houston Mayor Sylvester Turner said that they had met with TakeOff's mother. It doesn't matter how famous you are. You may not be famous at all, Turner said. Anybody who loses his or her life is a life lost, and there are family members and friends who are grieving as a result. So here's, it looks like CNN is sort of covering this whole thing that's going on. Hip-hop community reacts to TakeOff's death. The news of TakeOff's death was a blow to the hip-hop community, still recovering from the fatal shooting of rapper PNB Rock in September, which is just ridiculous. Stars took to social media Tuesday to pay tribute and express their condolences over the death of TakeOff. Gucci Mane, who recently collaborated with TakeOff on the track Us vs. Them, wrote on Instagram, This broke my heart, and which is, it did. This is heartbreaking. It really is. This is horrible. From tragedy of death to the tragedy of being a video of it online. Actress Keke Palmer shared on Instagram, referring to the video that appears to show the deceased rapper in the moments after he was shot. It's all just tragic, and I'm so very sorry. His whole family had to and all he touched. It is terrible. I watched the video. There's several videos of it from different angles, and we're not going to watch anything like that. We're not going to perpetuate that. But it's terrible. It really is. And there's more information coming out, more videos coming out where they are showing that Quavo, who is his uncle, which is it's TakeOff's uncle and bandmate from Migos. Quavo was actually in a heated argument. Now, there was rumors saying that Quavo and TakeOff were trying to mediate an argument, but it looks like the argument was involved Quavo, and Quavo did try walking away, but someone started swinging. People stood up. People drew guns, and then unfortunately, Takeoff was shot twice in the head. It's just horrible, fucking terrible, man. So yeah, there's been a lot of people who've been upset about everyone sharing the actual incident online, and they're like, man, this is just perpetuating violence. And then there's other people who are saying maybe the music perpetuates the violence, maybe the culture and the music itself is perpetuating violence. And again, I'm Mexican. I don't know the experience I don't know the black experience. I'm not going to pretend to know. So I have no idea what it's like to be, in that position your whole life, So I'm only going off of what people are saying. And, I'm not saying that's what it is, but this is what people are saying, that the culture breeds violence. Some people say that it's exterior motives of 500 years of oppression. And, so there's just different blames. It seems like there's different camps who want to have different blame different things. So we'll get into this. Rapper Ja Rule aired his grievance about Takeoff violent death on Twitter, writing, "This shit has to stop. Sending love to families and friends." And it's true. It does have to stop. The fact that there was no criminal act, like these guys didn't have anything. They weren't doing any crimes. They were just celebrating a birthday. And then some real ass gangsters came up in there, and that's what was happening. And they were shooting dice. They said they were shooting dice, but then there's rumors. There's people saying they weren't shooting dice, and that Takeoff was losing like $7,000. But those seem to be rumors too. So there's a lot of rumors flying around right now. Migos bursted. Okay, so we don't need to know about Migos and bursting on the scene, but so. There's a new video that's out that shows that there's an armed man and they're looking for this guy. He has the gun here. I'm not going to show the video because I don't want to do that. But this is Quavo arguing with whoever. And then this is somebody who's helping Takeoff after he's been shot. And this is terrible. It really is terrible. But again, now this is leading to a bigger conversation, and instead of going into whose fault this is, I thought this is probably a better time to have this conversation about hip hop community and what it means and how people are taking this. So there's a couple different takes I want to go over. First, I want to go over Academics, who is saying that Takeoff's death, Academic slams hip hop. Hypocrites, street poisoned our culture. This is what he's saying. Street poisoned our culture. DJ Academics is calling out anyone defending today's hip-hop culture on the heels of Takeoff slaying because he says the culture's adopted too many street ethos. AK went live on Twitch for over 3 hours Wednesday morning, going over key facts in the Houston case, identifying people on the scene, and venting his overall frustration with the culture. He grew particularly emotional when folks in his chats floated the idea the streets might retaliate against him for his research into the killing. That set him off. AK screamed at the top of his lungs against what he feels hip-hop culture has become. AK cited a controversial blogger, Charleston White, which... Woo! He has been talking, boy. Agreeing that criminality in hip hop culture needed to be flushed, and most rappers are doing dumb things with their spare time. So let's check out this video for a little bit. This is his stream, but there's a. So let's go check out the video that actually. Here it is. So here's the video he released on YouTube, sort of distilling down that whole idea of what we're just talking about. So we'll watch this for a little bit.
Check it out now. Well, goddamn it, people. Now, in the most interesting and unfortunate turn of events, We all know that Takeoff died from a stray bullet when there was an argument that initially started from the aftermath of a dice game that turned into other things. We now know that Quavo tried to walk away, and when he tried to walk away, someone tried to swing on him. People then pulled out weapons, gunshots were traded, and yes, if you don't know, there were two other people hit, one woman and one man, but we're getting information from the coroner who has done their investigative, everything they need to do with the body. They're saying that Takeoff was shot in the head and in the torso, okay? Now, they're saying they're done with pretty much everything they need to do with the body. It's not that complicated. It's a simple shooting. And they're saying that his body can be picked up for funeral arrangements. However, they are basically saying that the primary cause of death is penetrating gun wounds to the head and torso into the arm. Now, if you guys don't know the narrative behind this, it's supposedly said that while gunshots were fired, Takeoff, who was jumping into a possible situation because Quavo just got punched on or somebody was swinging on him, he then was pretty much in no man's land, kind of in the middle of where gunshots were being fired. Somebody pulled out a gun, and that errant bullet basically then struck him in the head. I hear you.
It's awful. It's so awful.
He was killed upon impact, and before he could even fall to the ground, he also got shot again. Man, this is such a sad story. We're all mourning the death of Takeoff, and the more I find out more information about this, y'all can watch my live stream I did on YouTube and Twitch. The more you find out information about this, you realize this was some stupid stuff, man. And what I mean by that, it might have been friendly fire. It might have also just been a case of dudes that just don't know how to aim. Also, alcohol.
So he's referring to Josh Prince, who was birthday they were celebrating. He's part of the Prince family in Houston, who is like hip hop royalty down there. And they're saying that it might have been the Prince folks who may have done a friendly fire, and that's who they were celebrating with. And be in the fog of war, or in the heat of the moment, just a friendly fire took them out. So that's one of the ideas that are floating out there about this.
Drugs, ego, all of these things add into the situation. But unfortunately, they always say, and they've always said this saying, bullets ain't got no name. So that one bullet that wasn't aimed for Takeoff, unfortunately, ended up killing him, and he got hit multiple times. I send prayers for everybody involved. I guarantee you that this won't be any positive outcome. When I hear the whole narrative from the night, these were a couple groups of men that were supposed to all be on the same page that went out. They had, of course, women around, and of course, liquor and drugs. And of course, out of male ego and competition, people were going back and forth, just tit for tat in terms of talking ish. And that later ended up with people being outside after the venue was closed. People started getting a little bit more spicy. People started talking about basketball, then fighting. And then ultimately, unfortunately, guns got pulled. And everybody who was intended for the shooting didn't get hit. It was only the people who were the bystanders. We've heard that so much times before. I also want to just put out this narrative, and I want to really make this be known. This ain't got nothing to do with rap music. Because that dice game, that event, the personnel that were there is all street stuff, okay? So I hate when rappers say, oh, this is proof that rap is the most dangerous profession. No, it's the culture surrounding rap. It's a bunch of street stuff going on. Where if you're in an environment and you're a millionaire, Takeoff and Quavo could have went and gambled in Vegas, and they would have had the utmost of security there and the bestest of time. This type of ghetto nonsense ain't happening.
And, he's speaking on this. He's speaking on like why do millionaires go and start hanging out and doing street bullshit? The old adage, I guess, is that you can take the man out of the hood, but you can't take the hood out of the man. I grew up half in the hood, and that mentality. I never had to go full. I didn't have to be, fully acclimated to my environment. I was shipped out to other schools. I just lived there, so I didn't have, face-to-face contact with the people who were going to school or stuff. But, our cars were stolen, shootings, you hear gunshots, getting down, all that good stuff. Not good stuff. It's horrible. It's traumatizing, but as a kid, you don't really know what's going on. This is just a part of your life. So that is always a part of you, that trauma. And I know from just the Vegas, not like Las Vegas, but the Vegas notion, just as someone who's lived there and known what that kind of that life can be. Not that I've ever been in gang activity, but I've done dumb things where I'm hanging out with gangsters. Teehee. But I'm not a gang. I was never I didn't. I don't have the. I don't know. Look at me. Do I look like I'm a gangster? No, not at all. So I dig what academics is saying here, and I want to also go and get Charleston White's view on all this, and it's all kind of this show is all kind of tying together here. It's very interesting because, on one hand, we're going to cover Ye, and Ye's been sort of calling out the Jewish folks, and I think in a wrong way. I don't agree with what he's saying, but I do see what he's saying in the idea that he is controlled by, I'm not going to say Jews, but like white people. Basically, there's people who encourage this kind of behavior by funding it and by putting it out there, and it almost encourages people. But then there's other people who are saying, like, no one told you to write about killing people and selling drugs and fucking bitches. It's like, that's your own personal responsibility. It doesn't mean it's not their fault that they're making money off of you because you're talking about killing your neighbor. They're just businessmen, right? That's what Kanye started calling them, businessmen, and it's wrong to say it's a whole group of Jewish people. It's not a cabal of Jewish people who are like, yes, this will kill them, or this is we'll fuck Kanye this way. But it is some bad actors who happen to be Jewish that fucked him over in the past, and he just took that and ran with it as just I'm going to call it the Jewish media and all this stuff. Which, again, that kind of rhetoric is how people started getting rounded up in World War II. So it's very dangerous rhetoric, especially in a time of volatile, we are in volatile times where people are looking for answers. They're so easily willing to glom on to these wild ideas, and when people become downtrodden and they look to see who they could blame for why we're here. We can always blame the white people. We can start blaming the Jews. We can start blaming the Mexicans. How many times have we started hearing it's the Mexicans taking their gerbs? It's the welfare queens. All this shit, right? Like, we're always looking for a way to blame somebody for our current situation, and it's very easy for people to sort of glom onto these ideas that it's the Mexicans, or it's the Jews, or it's the blacks, or it's the whites, or it's the brown, whatever it is, it's the yellow, whatever, it's the purple people, it's the gays, it's the trans, it's the this, it's like, it's always someone else's fault. And I feel like it's just what happens when times are tough. People are just vulnerable to these crazy, like, idea worms, idea viruses. So anyways, let's continue with academics video.
But what is it? As rappers and people have embraced street culture, black culture, people also assume that you're going to be a famous rapper and go anywhere and just be in a dice game and have arguments with dudes who are all from a certain environment and nothing's going to happen. This ain't got nothing to do with hip-hop. This ain't got nothing to do with music or rap. This got to do with the personnel that were there. You got a bunch of dudes who are street dudes who were there, who don't like argument. And let me just tell you something about, unfortunately, this is the facts about our culture. We don't know how to deal with resolving issues, de-escalating stuff. I also talked about the people that was with TakeOff and Quavo. They're not real security. You know what homie security don't know how to do? De-escalate. Yo, let me just remove one person.
The homie security does not know how to escalate. I can assure you that. Being in some situations where we did have homies kind of doing security, shit escalates real fast.
From the situation that we don't get to the guns. And by the way, I know that TakeOff, Quavo was trying to walk away, but when you have the homies around, they only know one gear. Go. Unfortunately, this is what happens when you put a bunch of hood niggas in a room. Dudes some getting legal money, some getting street money, some getting rap money. This ain't rap. This is a culture that we've all embraced. This is a culture that we all promote. This is a culture we all act like it's cool when we hear it on the songs. This is what happens. And unfortunately, we're sitting here trying to pick up the pieces, trying to make sense of another senseless murder. Rest in peace to TakeOff. The more we find out about the situation, we just get to realize, again, he probably had the worst luck of anybody that day. Yeah. Which, again, life somewhat. And living is a gamble. All right? Get a guy, subscribe, like them, subscribe.
And fucking, it's fucking terrible, man. It's fucking terrible. Like it really did bug me, man. Like it really did choke me up. I was trying to record a video for TikTok and report on this, and like I'm usually on my TikTok, I'm like, what's up, dog? And like I just couldn't put that kind of energy behind it, and it's fucking terrible, man. Like, and what sucks is, and another point that kind of gets brought up is like there's no other genre of music. You don't have a bunch of country stars shooting each other or getting killed like this. You don't have a bunch of pop stars out there, which rap is pop. You don't have a bunch of like EDM DJs out there, killing each other and having beefs like this. And there is a lot of evidence that this is breeded within a culture. Again, I'm not saying that. This is just what I'm reporting, what I'm hearing. So let's go. I want to find a. Hold on. Let's switch scenes so you guys don't have to see my messiness. I don't know. Have you guys ever heard of Thomas Sowell? He is an economist, I believe, but he's a very, very intelligent man. He's a black social commentator economist. Shit, that's not what I wanted to do. The problem is it's really weird because they rented out the whole bowling alley and was a private event. So me and Sherlock Holmes both agree that this was all friendly fire. Oh shit, because they were all there, right? They were okay. So it was damn Samo. Thank you for coming in with that, because that makes more sense. And that does push that, because it was a private party. The whole place was rented out. So everyone there was supposedly friends of who was the guest, That's a good point, Sam. Well, thank you so much for busting up in here with that. And that's great. Not great, but that clarifies a little more. There's some things that kind of upset me that everyone accepted. They got shot in a dice game and everybody's like, okay, yeah, cool. They ran, yeah, right. Because there is some other stuff that's coming out now that it's like it wasn't fully about all that. There's a bunch of stuff coming out right now. Lots of different takes on this. You just can't be a good person. It doesn't work like that. Take it from your Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Yeah. See what happened there. See what came of that situation. Jesus was a gangster too, right? He was running around with prostitutes and criminals. Shit. Jesus was out there fucking gang bitches. Okay. So I need to go through my library because I was watching a video, and that video we just watched actually was sent in by Samo. So thank you, Samo, for sending that in. Jesus Christ was Jesus Christ was for the streets, bitch. By the way, Samo is going to be on the podcast coming up here in November 18th. November 18th, Samo will be on the show. So if you guys want some more salty social commentary, come through. And he also has his own Twitch channel, which y'all should go check out too. Give some love to my boy Samo, friend of the show. And I feel like we're friends now. We've sent enough texts and stuff back and forth now that I could say Samo's my friend. And if we were in the same vicinity, I would make sure to go and be like, I gotta go see my boy Samo. So I would go kick it with Samo. So okay, so where were we? So I was looking for that video I was watching the other day. Why is that dryer fucking timer on? Who put that on? Who keeps putting that on? I hate that fucking sound. It's like, ugh. It's like the alarm on the iPhone. Eddie Brown Music. What's up, buddy? Welcome in. Thank you so much for being here. I'm gonna get a shout out for Eddie. Eddie is a music streamer y'all should be hanging out with too. Go get yourself some Eddie. Go get some Eddies. Okay, I'm trying to find this one video. I wish I would have gotten it out, but where is it? Why is this so hard? Oh God, no, we don't need that. Here we go. Okay, let me see if I can find it. Here it is. Okay, so I wanted to go into sort of the idea. So we were kind of talking about, right now there's this movement to remove lyrics, rap lyrics out of court cases. And this was, like we covered, Drake and Megan Thee Stallion, 21 Savage, Post Malone. There's so many hip hop artists right now who are trying to make it so you can't use hip rap lyrics against somebody who's, being indicted or on this, facing jail time. And yeah, that I think that's great. And but it does sort of insulate the culture, right? It does sort of insulate it and make it so it's like it does in a way it kind of does perpetuate the ability for people to sort of keep saying violent things and espousing violent things in their music. And again, I'm not saying anything. I love hip hop music. I love clean hip hop music. I love fucking gangster rap. I fucking, like there's a spectrum of it. And I like it all. It all moves me, even if I can't directly relate with shooting guns and prostituting bitches and shit, or whatever the situation, whatever it is, like it's not all that. But there is something that's visceral and attractive about that music that that just it hits people of all shapes and sizes and shades and colors. So I want to turn this over to economist Thomas Sowell, and I wanted to. I'm not sure if this is the right video, so I want to make sure this is. So Thomas Sowell has sort of the same idea as academics does. He does think it sort of breeds the culture breeds, violence and such. So let me see. Let's go over here. Let me see where we're at here, because
South back as well. That in the time this mental testing in the First World War turned up, among other things, the fact that whites from various 4 or 5 southern states scored lower on the mental test than blacks from 4 or 5 northern states. And so it really was a question of the subculture that was there, which was a handicap to both. I could go on for days about the social degeneration, but let me give you just one quick example. When I grew up in Harlem in the 40s and 50s, I never heard a gunshot. Now, I'm sure someone fired a gun somewhere in Harlem, but it was not such a pervasive thing that you had to hear it. I have relatives in Washington. I asked them the same question. People in my generation.
Growing up in Washington, D.C.
Yes, and low-income black neighborhoods. Did you ever hear a gunshot when you were growing up? And the answer was no. I have relatives in North Carolina. I asked the same question. No. And now, people in housing projects especially, they put kids, some of them, to bed in bathtubs so that they won't be hit by stray bullets in the night. Now we take it for granted that there's tremendous levels of crime and violence in the black community. That was not always the case. In the 20s, it was very common for white celebrities, including George Gershwin and William Faulkner, to go up to Harlem not only for entertainment places, but to go into private homes of people they knew. And Gershwin played Rhapsody in Blue in this home where Walter White lived. Milton Friedman, when he was a graduate student at Columbia, he and the lady he later married would go dancing at the Savoy Ballroom in Harlem.
Stomping at the Savoy.
No fear of being mugged or accosted on the street or anything like that.
I've heard you say, Tom, when you were a boy growing up in Harlem yourself, your own neighborhood felt totally safe to you.
Not totally safe to you. I wouldn't exaggerate, but it's nothing resembling today. I mean, I did sleep on hot nights. I would sleep out on the fire escape. When I tell people in Harlem that today, they think I'm from another galaxy, But the people
I don't know. Is this
slept on the fire escapes in New York and in the public parks in the 30s, all over the city, because it was not a jungle. You could run through a great number of other things. Children raised without 2 parents present. That was about.
I take responsibility.
White liberals
I take
Watch out for the white liberals,
responsibility.
Freds.
Black people are being slaughtered in the streets, killed in their own homes. These are our brothers and sisters, our friends, our family. We are done watching them die.
How do you define a white liberal?
Those kinds of people who have the kinds of attitudes that are called liberal in the United States, although the word is misused, those people have created an atmosphere in which these counterproductive cultures are to be celebrated, perpetuated, and the consequences overlooked. It reminds me of a scene in the Blue Max where this general is encouraging this daredevil pilot to do all kinds of wild stunts, you see, knowing that the guy's going to kill himself if he keeps doing this, and therefore the general will be rid of a political problem. Now, I don't think that the white liberals are doing this deliberately, but I think the net results are the same. They are cheering blacks on and doing things that are absolutely self-destructive. One of the things I discovered in the research for my book I'm currently working on is that leaders...
I'm not sure if this is the right video, guys, so I thought he was talking about hip hop. Like he has a specific thing on hip hop, and I don't want to dunk on. Oh, awesome, Eddie! I'm glad you got the hat. Hell yeah, fucking A, brother. Thank you so much for supporting, man. I really appreciate you. I'm not trying to dunk on black folks at all. Okay, man, fucking Mexicans, we have our own problems with violence and shit. But like a whole country that's just overran by violent criminals that's spilling over into America constantly. But I'm just trying to pinpoint in what the conversation is and what people are kind of talking about right now in lieu of all these slayings of young rappers. I mean, again, fucking tragedy, bro. Like it hit me hard. And I ain't even like the biggest Migos fan, right? Like I said, I fucking work out to them sometimes and it gets me hype as fuck. It's hype music. It gets me going. I like it for that. But it just, for whatever reason, it's just the youth. He's so fucking young, and to find out he's like this non-violent, peaceful human being, and it's just getting caught up in some bullshit. Like it's heartbreaking, man. As a father, if that was my boy, like, oh my God, it's horrifying, man. It's horrifying. It's fucking me up right now.
Leaders of groups that are lagging in countries around the world almost invariably have counterproductive policies for them, and it makes perfect sense. Because insofar as members of lagging groups assimilate into the values and achievements of the larger society, they don't need those leaders. I mean, there's no mystery to me as to why Jesse Jackson says what he does, or Al Sharpton and others, because that benefits them, but it does not benefit the people they lead. And all the incentives are for leaders to lead people into things that don't help the people, but help the leaders.
What you'd create?
See, I'm not trying to dunk on Jesse Jackson, all right? We're moving on here.
Americans today, black rednecks, who are they?
These would be blacks who came out of the Southern culture. And
all right, we're not doing that. Hold on, where is it this one? Okay, let's see what's up.
With German women. And Flynn discovered that those children growing up in Germany showed no IQ differences at all. The black kids and the white kids, the same. Professor Flynn concluded that the reason was that the offspring of black soldiers in Germany grew up in a nation with no black subculture, close quote. Which means what? Which means they experienced exactly the same expectations. Is this
No, their expectations are external. The culture in which they grew up with was not the culture in which black kids grew up in America today.
So they had...
There's no gangster rap.
All right, so there we have Thomas Sowell's perspective as it pertains to Professor Flynn's study, which examined how black and white soldiers within the context of World War II had children with German women. And the outcome within the context of those children growing up in Germany was the same, whether they were white or whether they were black.
Which should be obvious, right? There's been this fucking incredibly racist, horrifying notion that somehow black people are less intelligent or inanely more violent and shit. And this is where sociology kind of does come into play. I haven't watched this. I didn't know that he was going to be fucking doing this. So we'll listen to this guy talk a little bit.
Now, of course, the natural question arises, why aren't those outcomes the same within the context of America. And of course, we have Thomas Sowell's brilliant and or sophisticated analysis that simple, there's not gangster rap music found within the context of Germany, which would hinder or impact the psyche of young African Americans, which it does within the context of America. So therefore, Thomas Sowell takes the position of blame it on gangster rap music. Now we have to assess,
which is kind of like that doesn't ring right to my ears, right? Maybe it's because I'm a light-skinned liberal, but but it just doesn't sound right to me when we're gonna be like, it's gangster rap that's making all the crime and stuff. There's more to that, I think, than that. It's not just gangster rap, and I don't think Thomas Sowell thinks that either. Moving Dutchman, what is that? We're getting down to it. Oh, you gotta. Is that your new emote? A moving Sherlock. Nice. Or is that an old one? Oh, it's a bit emote. Tight.
this issue at a deeper and more nuanced level. Gangster rap music didn't emerge from the invisible sky somewhere. In fact, it emerged within the context of the 1980s, while simultaneously the war on drugs was also further perpetuated within the context of the 1980s under the Reagan administration.
The proven racist, intentionally racist drug war. The war on drugs. It's proven. Fucking Nixon said it. Bitch ass Nixon said it. It's proven now that was indeed set to disrupt movements within the black community. It was intentional. It was intentional. Like the Black Panthers. They went in. They were afraid. They were afraid of young counterculture. It frightened the shit out of them, and they did everything they could. And probably introduced crack into the fucking neighborhood. But probably who's inventing crack? I don't know. Who's sitting around inventing crack? Like I was never able to fucking cook up crack. I was terrible at cooking crack. I could never do it. I could never get the ratio right. I even listened to the Biggie song. I can't do it. I don't got the I Googled it. I could never get it to rock. I mean, I'm not saying. I don't know. It's just weird, right? Like, who just sits around thinking of how to fucking make it the most addictive and horrible way to do? I don't know, man. Anyways, we won't go on. We won't pursue that. But let's move on.
Especially as it pertains to taking a hawkish approach when it comes to non-violent offenses. Now, do you think that hawkish approach, especially in regards to more policing in impoverished areas such as that of Los Angeles, Detroit, Chicago, and numerous other places, that hawkish approach to especially being hawkish towards nonviolent offenses simultaneously with over-policing in those specific areas that I just outlined, that perhaps there was conflict that emerged between the black underclass and or the police that often corresponded in issues pertaining to excessive force, or in other words, police brutality. Even before the Rodney King incident was ever made visual. Of course, hence the reason from those cultural experiences within the context of those impoverished areas emerged a cultural phenomena that outlined fuck the police. Not that every single police officer is corrupt or that every single police officer approaches a situation looking to engage in excessive force. No, it's that there's certain police officers within the context of American policing that have taken a hawkish approach, especially as it pertains to honing in on nonviolent offenses, which is often corresponded in conflict between the black underclass and or the police. But of course, that analysis and that social environment and that context is utterly ignored and or dismissed. In Germany, that's not happening within the context of their social environment. But that is happening within the context of the American social environment, especially as it pertains to places that I just outlined. Chicago, Detroit, Los Angeles, New York, and we can go on, where these issues continue to fester and in many ways still haven't been resolved.
Not at all.
Of course, we on the left have been pushing towards legalizing certain drugs, especially marijuana, that can help combat that issue. But of course, that's the analysis that's often ignored and or dismissed. So actual solutions are dismissed, and instead the approach is what Thomas Sowell just laid out. Blame it on gangster rap music. But let's take a look at the full context of this clip.
In Intellectuals and Race, you cite an observation by the intelligence expert, IQ scientist James Flynn, that just stopped me cold. After the Second World War, you've got large numbers of American troops remaining in Germany. For that matter, there's still several tens of thousands there today. And both black and white American soldiers had children with German women. And Flynn discovered that those children growing up in Germany showed no IQ differences at all.
Duh.
The black kids and the white kids, the same. Professor Flynn concluded that the reason was that the offspring of black soldiers in Germany grew up in a nation with no black subculture, close quote. Which means what? Which means they experienced exactly the same expectations. Is this the...
No, the expectations are external. The culture in which they grew up was not the culture in which black kids grew up in America today.
So they had...
There's no gangster rap that was pervasively available in Germany.
I wish they would show more about that. But see, I wish you would go, like, I would like to see that more in depth, because here's somebody's analysis of it. Lil Wayne on Black Lives Matter. Here we go. Wait, but that's just like... Is that all we get? We just get this little short thing here?
You cite, in Intellectuals and Race, you cite an observation by the intelligence expert, IQ scientist, that those children growing up in Germany showed no IQ difference. So they had...
There's no gangster rap.
Thing about black subculture in America today that holds African Americans themselves back?
Yes.
So that's just his opinion. That's just...
There is something about black subculture in America today that holds African Americans themselves back?
Yes.
I want to hear an argument against that. We need an argument against this, because there's something that just doesn't sit right with me to just say it's gangster rap and subculture. And I mean, because there's so much more when you're looking at impoverished neighborhoods, and you have a history of redlining, you have history of just our American history here. And I'm sure this is hard for people to understand if you're not from America, but we just have this, this insane way that we've been handling race in our country, and where we just keep subjugating folks to, or relegating folks to, a certain part of the neighborhood, where we're going to just completely ignore it, let it fall apart. It basically rules itself. And the only time that we're going to go in there is to just collect tax revenue and arrest and, brutalize or harass the residents there. And, you have, there's fucking South Chicago has been South Chicago for like 80 years, man. 80, like it's maybe even longer. Like it's been like a rough place to be for years, and it's not just because black people were initially violent. It's like they've had to deal with so much. Like poor people, especially poor people of color, just eating so much shit. I mean, crumbling schools and just crumbling neighborhoods. There's blight all around. People on drugs. It's not easy, man. I fucking South Toledo here. It's been the same neighborhood for fucking 50 years. It's been a shit neighborhood. Shootings and robberies all the fucking time. It's very blatant that we have ignored and just moved on without bringing the rest of the neighborhood with us, bringing the whole city. And now, is that by design? Is that by, or is it something that was initially by design, but just sort of got, over the years, just got ignored? Because it's easier to just ignore the situation than it is to go in and fix it and like really go in and put money where it should be, you know, and build up communities and build up, you know, schools and start community centers. And obviously I'm just putting out these blanket statements, but there is more to it. Barack Obama did this shit. This is what Barack Obama did in Chicago, was community building. And, I mean, he was great at it. I mean, I don't know how great of a president he was. I mean, I liked him, but he did a lot of terrible shit too. But, you know, he came from that mentality, trying to fix a neighborhood but it's a big job. And with all the money we're sending over to Ukraine, you know, like nothing against the Ukrainians, you know, much love. I hope all things work out. But we have a lot of shit going on here that's fucked up. And we're sending, what, $60 billion or something? I don't know. We have so much problems here, and we are worried about protecting a small group of people's energy source and money. And it's basically all we're doing over there is just protecting people's money and their interest, which sucks. But, you know, it sucks that the Ukrainian people, it's like war is that, right? War is just the casualties of people protecting their money. It's fucking horrible. So I want to go now to a Charleston white who he says things in he puts it in a very different way. But I think he's essentially saying the same shit. I think I sent it over. Let me see if I can find it. I should have had all this shit together, but you know. Oh yeah, I have it over here. It's in my tick. Okay, so this may or may not get us in trouble. So Kanye just posted this video this morning, and I saw this yesterday, and I liked it yesterday. And oh wait, no, that's not the one I wanted to do. This one. Kanye posted this one, but this is the one. We're gonna watch this one later. This is the one that I'm referring to because this guy, he's talking about how. Oh, and here's the Kanye thing. We'll watch that too because that was really hype. It was a really good video. So we'll watch this and then we'll kind of go into it afterwards.
You know, we obviously blame the rapper, but we ignore who's behind the rapper. And
nobody.
It's the white man.
No, you goddamn lie.
No, it's the white man.
No. Listen, when you show up to my record label with your killing nigga music, I ain't behind what you wrote.
The white man is for sure.
You wrote them before you got here.
And you just gave $1 million for it.
But you wrote it. But listen, listen, brother. I'm a businessman.
Right.
I ain't got nothing to do with what you wrote. You wrote the lyrics talking about killing your neighbor.
But you didn't tell me, no, this is what you're supposed to be writing. You said, I'm going to give you $1 million for this.
Brother, but listen.
So you encouraged it.
No, I didn't.
With the utmost dollar amount.
No, I didn't. I'm a businessman, and I'm about business. Because when you stop rapping this, and I get a Nas X, and he can rap gay, I'm going to sign him too. And you showed up with these gay killer lyrics, brother. I ain't got nothing to do with what's in your mind and what you want to project. I just know your destruction makes money. You came to provide y'all destruction, and it's gonna benefit me and my family. Why would I turn you down? Do you turn down the pregnant drug addict who's trying to buy crack from you, brother?
I mean, I've never sold crack to a pregnant person, but I have sold hard drugs to drug addicts, which is a pretty terrible thing to do as well. So it's something I'll have to live with, is perpetuating drug use in my own community. It's terrible.
What about the girl who may look underage that's selling? Do you turn her down?
Yes. Yes,
What
you do.
about your homeboy's woman who's in a compromised state and you can fuck her and she come to you? Do you turn her down?
Yes. Yes, you do. But you're talking about record executives who are looking at millions of dollars. And these are situations, that it may seem easy to sort of walk away from, but when you're talking about millions and millions and millions of dollars, are you going to be the moral grandstander? Are you going to be the one who's going to be like, listen, Migos, I just don't think you should be perpetuating violence. In your music, I think it perpetuates violence in the black community. And as a record executive, as a white man who's very rich and stands to get richer, I think that you guys should change everything and do only positive, conscious rap. Cool? Cool. There is this side of like, it's an artistic expression. I mean, people act like violence in music hasn't been around forever. I mean, that's just, it's been in that shit. I mean, I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die. Was that perpetuating a bunch of white people go out and shoot a bunch of cowboys to go shoot a bunch of fucking people in Reno? I don't think so. But that's white music, right? That comes from and I'm not saying it like that. I'm saying it's like white people don't experience the same experience as black and brown people do. It's a different experience. It's not the same. You're not sort of subjugated and relegated to a certain area of the world, and you can kind of traverse through the white dominated culture without being harassed or harangued or anything like that. So I think it's just a different. It's a totally different situation. I wouldn't expect a record label executive who is rich to care about that. And as someone who does business and who's in the music business, and I've never had deals that took place where there was millions and millions of dollars at stake. It's always been, a few hundred, few thousand, whatever the situation is, but it's never been this. And like, it's easy to say you can walk away from a few $100 if it means compromising your integrity as an artist. But it's not the same when you're talking about millions and millions of dollars, man, millions of dollars. So, Charleston White, again, I'm just presenting ideas. This is what I'm finding. Now I want to find something something that sort of takes on a different, let's see, argument that gangster rap does not perpetuate violence. Rap music didn't cause inner city violence, poverty. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's the words I needed. But that's what I'm getting at. Is it that rap music causes violence, or is it the situation in which you're bred and born? If that's all you see around you, if that's all that you know, then it's not. You can't just blame one thing. And again, I'm not saying it's one thing or the other. Like a good fence sitter, I'm thinking it's somewhere that lies within the gray area, somewhere in the middle, where it's some of this, hey, Papacito, what's up? We're just, Just talking about rap music. I'm trying to do a very delicate dance here, Papacito. I don't know if I'm achieving it, but we're here. We're doing it. Papacito, how was lunch, buddy? What'd you have? I had a turkey wrap with sauerkraut in it. Just ate something. I gotta eat something. Rap music didn't cause inner city violence. Poverty and broken homes did. No, you're good. I mean, if you want, I can understand if you don't want to see someone like me talking about this. I get it. Had a La Rosas, which is a Cincy thing. Had free La Rosas. Oh, shit. What's La Rosas? La Rosa. Oh, pizza. Let's go. Everybody, this is what Papacito ate. So if you guys are interested and you're in Cincinnati, get yourself some La Rosas. La Rosas. Double pepperoni, bitch. Okay. All right. Hip hop has faced Moving Dutchman, thank you so much for gift subbing Papacito. And how dare you, sir? Look at that confetti raining emotes. It's beautiful. So beautiful. We're going to do this again. Wait a second. What is it? Go MD. We're doing it again.
Hello, Moving Dutchman. This is Gandalf. Thank you for all that you do for this channel, and always remember, a Moving Dutchman is never late, nor early, but arrives precisely when he means to.
169. Ooh, I'm running out of time here, Moving Dutchman. I'm running out of time. I gotta get my shit together for that 200. Gotta get my shit in one sock, brother. All right. Hip hop also often faces substantial amount of blame for the inner city violence that occurs in communities across the country. This ideology has been perpetuated by politicians, media personalities, journalists, and scholars alike, including Thomas Sowell, who we just heard. The genre has been heavily scrutinized for its influence and impact on black youth for decades. The polarizing genre's criticisms date back to the gangster rap protests headed by National Political Congress of Black Women Chair Dr. C. Dolores Tucker and the mass protests against the rap group NWA. Straight out Compton, bitches. Disparaging elements of the genre due to the disdain of its vulgarity, misogyny, or its negative stereotyping of black community is rational. So, but mainstream media undeniably chooses to amplify rap music that glorifies murder, gang culture, crime, violence over more socially conscious and responsible acts. Despite this reality, solely blaming rap music for the violence itself is problematic at best and illogical at worst. And see, that's what I'm saying. To sit there and say that it's just gangster rap is ridiculous. Year's End, 31 December, just saying, okay. Hey, I got enough pressure, okay? I got enough. Ooh. Oh, I know what I'm doing, Moving Dutchman. Thank you for that pressure. I needed that. Moving Dutchman. I know what I'm doing. Somebody was hitting me up. Somebody DM'd me and was like, "Yo, dude, I really like your content. But why don't you cut out all the fucking chat, bro?" Because I upload these to YouTube. They're like, "Will you just cut out all the chat? Like, I wish you would just cut the chat out. You're always talking to chat. Cut the chat out and put this shit back." I'm just like, I'm not cutting the chat out. Maybe one day, but I think it's all part of the fun. Mushrooms or pressure works for me. You want me to just mail you some mushrooms? I shouldn't say that on air. One day you just open. Yes, and so I think that just blaming gangster rap music for the violence, inner city violence, is ridiculous, because there's been even in its inception, I feel like it was more of a comment on the environment rather than perpetuating. It's same like Superfly, you know, like that, the same shit. They're talking about drug dealers and shit. Curtis Mayfield talking about drug dealers and guns and all that shit. Been talking about that shit. I mean, there's just a rich history of reflecting your environment, and that as an artist, that's how I see that. But when you see how a peaceful human being like Takeoff can be slain, and just by being caught up in the middle of gang violence, just by being in a place that maybe a millionaire rapper shouldn't be, I mean, it does talk a little bit to how the culture's expectations of the like rap culture's expectations of how one behaves and how one conducts themselves. I can see how that influences people. You know, I mean, I certainly have gotten some influence from that. You know, over the years, just giving me confidence to stand up for myself and not, you know, take shit from people. You know, there's that in there too. When hip hop, and then so he also was talking about here how, you know, it's perpetuated by people who make money off of it. Now, do we blame the record executives for perpetuating the music and perpetuating violence in these communities? Or is it just, are we just looking at it as like, they're just business people? This is a capitalistic society and we can't help. They're going to make money. That's their nature. That's what it's all about. Either way, both of those answers are very unsatisfactory. You know, because if these record executives did want to make a real difference, as they try to say, as every time Black History Month comes up and BLM goes up on Universal Music Group's websites, and all the black stuff comes out on all these music websites, and they try to say how much they hold up black artists. You know, if they truly wanted to make a difference, would they walk away from millions of dollars because they know what sells? They know that kids like this as well. And there's the other side of it too, that this is what people want, or is it being shoveled down someone's throat because this is what's popular? Is it something that's being promoted by the media? You know, or is there an actual demand for violent gangster rap music? Where is it? Where is that? Where does it, you know, where does this link up? How does this happen? So, you know, who do we blame? I mean, we can say they all day, right? They are trying to keep people down, but they is we, you know, they are us. We're supposed to be in this as a big community here in America, at least. Even in the world, a big community. I mean, it's on us as much as it's on them, I feel, because there does come to a point where personal responsibility does need to take place somewhere eventually. But then there's all these external pressures that's perpetuated by a media that's making money off of it. I mean, it's a very complicated subject. I know I'm not going to solve it here. I know that fucking this pale-faced fucking Hafsican ain't going to solve the world's problems, but I'm just trying to look at it from, you know, different angles. And I see where Jeremy McCool, this is his name is Jeremy McCool. Let's go, Jeremy McCool. That's right. When hip-hop first emerged into the mainstream in the late 1970s, it rarely reflected or perpetuated gangs, drug sales, or senseless violence. Songs by early acts such as Dougie Fresh, Run DMC, Sugar Hill Gang, Africa Bambaataa often centered around party and fun, braggadocious lyrics, wearing the nicest attire, and being the best MC. When artists did speak on crime in this era, many often sought to deter people away from violence and drugs by speaking out in a negative light. This displayed by Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five's hit songs The Message, released in 1982, and White Lines, released in 1983. Despite the lack of glorification in the early era of hip-hop music, gang and drug-related violence was at an all-time high in many urban cities during these same years. In 1980, the homicide total in New York City was 1,814. Dating back further, while my hometown of Chicago is often perpetuated as the poster child for violence in modern time, the city's peak murder rate was actually in 1974, with over 970 murders occurring in 1 year. Historically, was before the hip-hop genre even existed in mainstream society. Who was to blame for the violence then? Surely it wasn't the OJ, Stevie Wonder, Kool and the Gang, Jackson 5, Aretha Franklin songs that topped the Billboard charts during the summer of 1974. Good point. Good point. But I don't think, I think the Chicago violence, the murder rate now is way above that. What is it? The Chicago murder rate. Let's see, 2021. Let's see. Chicago reached at least 800 homicides. So, dang. So that still didn't top. Wow. Wow. 970 murders. Holy shit, dude. So that's 170 more murders than took place last year. Whew, what the fuck? Trying times, folks, trying times. There are a plethora of occurrences and entities to blame for inner city violence. Many elements lead back to systematic racism and the oppression of black people in America. You can blame poverty, the lack of community resources, poor educational system. We were just talking about all this, weren't we? And this is what I'm saying. It's not just fucking gangster rap, because where did this idea of gangster rap even come from? It came from somewhere. It wasn't like gangster rap was just like, here, it came first and then everything, you know, like people weren't shooting each other to I feel good, you know, they weren't, maybe they were, I don't know. Anyways, drugs. You can blame poverty, the lack of community resources, and poor educational systems. You can blame the systematic removal of black men from households through mass incarceration, the war on drugs, and welfare policies that prohibiting homes with men from receiving government aid, which basically incentivizes people to stay single so they get more benefits, because you get more benefits if it's not a two-person household. If it's a single mother, they tend to get more benefits from that. So it's sort of incentivized to not keep a solid family unit. What the hell was that? What are you doing? The fuck? Hold on. This dude. All right, he's out there playing soccer. I don't blame him. He's all out of breath and shit. The 4th of July, New Year's Eve type of thing. That's a 4th of July, New Year's Eve type of thing. What? Saucy? Did I forget what I was just talking about? Man, see, I always forget what I'm talking about. You can blame system. Okay, so you can also blame crooked policing and government's involvement in crack cocaine epidemic. Fuck yeah, we can. Or the lack of counseling for trauma of black youth. While hip-hop music can normalize dangerous behaviors, these behaviors existed long before the genre itself. While individuals tend to analyze the impact of hip-hop, the impact that hip-hop has on the black youth, they tend to ignore the circumstances and environments that led children to the point of susceptibility. Boom. See? Someone agrees with me. Fucking Jeremy McCool agrees with me. While media undeniably influences the youth in a multitude of ways, violence in the black community is far more complex than the impact of songs. While blaming hip-hop music for violence is often convenient due to the level of ignorance often promoted in our youth, it tells a one-sided story that points the finger at the art reflecting a dysfunctional culture. Instead of the system that created the dysfunctional culture itself, solely blaming hip-hop is an issue because it neglects and negates the detrimental societal issues that plague the black community and who is truly responsible for its occurrence. Research throughout the years has indicated that poverty often impacts decision making, anger, and the likelihood of losing emotional control. It also has shown that single parent households show higher signs of juvenile delinquency than homes with a nuclear family structures. If violent rap music disappeared tomorrow, no evidence suggests that violence in the inner city would not show it nor cease to exist. Boom. Great take. Jeremy McCool is a media personality, college educator, and writer and scholar from Chicago. I like this. I really thought this was a greatly written article that sort of goes into what I feel like. But then again, I do see the side that like Thomas Sowell is making, because it does sort of perpetuate. It's sort of like this echo chamber, right? It just keeps perpetuating the behavior in some ways. Also, poverty, being poor fucking sucks, man. I know what it's like to be poor. I know what it's like to be fucking like not knowing how the fuck we're going to pay rent and the kind of stress that brings on. It fucking sucks. It's just, and if you've just been doing it your whole fucking life, of course you're going to have a twisted view on the world and fucking how you make money and of course you are. And then you hear a genre of music that sort of encourages or at least, validates in some way the behavior. And so it's a combination of all of this stuff, man. It's not just one or the other. It's a huge complex problem that is going to require a lot of fucking work. And I don't think that our government is interested in that. I think there's a lot of people who do want to help, but don't know how or are ineffective. I wish BLM had more sway and used their money instead of spending it on personal mansions and stuff. I wish they would have dedicated that. And there was a weekend last year in the summer where 60 people died in fucking Chicago from gun violence, South Chicago. I wish that BLM would go and shine light on that. Besides the other stuff as well. I'm not against BLM, but it does seem that they have turned into a kind of certain factions have turned a little bit corrupt, which money corrupts, right? Money, power corrupts. It's just the reality of it. So, moving on, because this all kind of ties together to where we're going with this and what, with the idea of, Drake and all these rappers wanting to protect people from being prosecuted from their lyrics, like Young Thug being prosecuted from his lyrics, to the idea of the music itself perpetuating this behavior. Because why would a very successful rapper like Young Thug still feel like he needs to go out and have people killed and sell drugs to kids and do all this shit, right? Like, why does he feel, by the way, allegedly, Young Thug has not stood trial yet, so he is not guilty until proven, right? So he is innocent until proven guilty. So, hey, watch out. I gotta watch myself too. Gotta watch myself. Gotta watch what I'm saying. Okay, so I think that's thank you, Saucy, for telling me to go with Kanye last, because we're gonna pick up on Kanye now and pick up to where so everybody knows he's been having a hard time lately, and he does seem to be switching up his rhetoric. He does seem to be switching up his rhetoric a bit. He's not going so hard on this whole like Jewish media thing, because again, I don't think it was like this cabal of Jewish people who were like trying to fuck over Kanye. Although it does seem like as he was speaking out on things, there does seem to be a collusion of sorts between people and executives that decided that they were done with him, and pressure mounting from the public. So there does seem to be some sort of collusion to basically ruin Kanye for his things he says. And again, I'm not defending Ye's words. I think it was atrocious what he said. I think it was terrible. I think that what his direction now, where he's going, where he's singling people out and letting people know that they're on their shit list, I think that's a way better way of doing it than just lumping a few bad actors into a whole group of fucking people, because that's what happens with black people. That's what happens with white people. I mean, not white people, with Mexicans. It's just what happens to any marginalized group. It's just like, fuck it. You know, you have bad experiences with one or two of them, and now all of them are bad, right? Like, it's a few people don't represent an entire people. But when you start saying shit like, you know, like Kanye was saying, of course these people are going to group up and come after you, because you're rehashing some really dangerous talk that got their people fucked up. So we're going to go through Kanye's latest Twitter dump, and we'll just sort of take it from there, because he has been changing his rhetoric. It's been a little better, even though he was like, he was apologizing. Hold on, let's play that video where he's apologizing, and then immediately is just like, if you look at this chart here, you'll see that everyone is this is Jewish. It's sad, but it's kind of fucked up. But the Black Panthers help the community at all means necessary. I believe if we followed the true belief of the 12-point system that the Black Panthers invented, Black Lives Matter would have lasted a lot longer. Well, Black Lives Matter is still going strong. Wow, tuck it in. You sound like you're part of the same-o clergy. Oh my God, you better calm down, same-o. But me and you, same-o, we do agree on a lot of things. So I mean, that's not I'm not insulted by that at all. Thank you, same-o. You know, man, and that's what we were talking about too. How the war on drugs was created to disrupt that movement. It was created to disrupt the Black Panther movement and these movements that were happening in these communities that were sick of the shit. Hey, fuck you. We're going to just live our lives. Fuck off. We have the right to protect us. If you want to fuck with us, whatever. But listen, this is what we're doing, and this is how it is. And fuck it, and start, because they weren't, people just think of the Black Panthers as gun-toting violent people, because that was the nature of the media then. But it was community outreach. They were teaching children. They were fucking feeding people. It wasn't just, you know, people with guns protecting their neighborhood. It was like an overarching idea of building this community up that's been just torn to fucking shit and dumped all over and dunked on. It was something beautiful. And then the war on drugs, and that was their excuse to go in there and just start murdering people and start taking them to jail and splitting up homes and taking the father out of the homes. And then, as we read, you know. So let's try to find that video where